On today's show, the San Diego Padres bullpen blows it again as the nightmare June schedule almost, thankfully, comes to an end.
You are Locked On Padres, your daily San Diego Padres podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Locked On Padres podcast, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day for Monday, June 30th. As always, I'm your host with sometimes the most, Javier Reyes, and I have been covering this team for almost 6 years now, for not just this podcast, though, but also various other outlets, including JustBaseball.com, chief among them. Today's episode, guys, is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Remember to go check me out on Twitter/X and Blue Sky at Javipeno, JAVIIPENO. Reach out to there for any questions, comments, or concerns you may have, and you might even get them answered here on the show. That's right, today's show, it is the Monday mailbag. But first, we're going to be talking about just some notes from the weekend series that did not go according to plan for the Padres in many ways, featuring a blowout loss, and a walk-off loss in the same series, so that's not fun. And then going to be talking a little bit about the bullpen and whether or not it's been completely cooked as of late, and just some notes, especially on Robert Suarez, and then getting into the mailbag, answering some of your questions, guys. So we have no time to lose. Let's get to it. Firstly, let's talk about, I guess, yesterday's game, because that was the most recent. Padres lose that one in a walk-off. First, let me just say, Stephen Kolek, the Kolek Kingdom, doing great in this start. I just want to give a shout out to Stephen Kolek. Dare I say, him and I'd say Gavin Sheets are probably the two best things that happened this weekend, which is not necessarily the most encouraging statement I've ever given on this podcast, but I liked what I saw. He didn't really give up any hard hit stuff, particularly in his off-speed pitches, his sweeper, changeup, and cutter, which he threw 10, 8, and 6 times respectively. Didn't give up any hard contact, which is great. And the four-seam fastball, not much else on there either. So his off-speed, everything looked pretty good. You know what I mean? And I just like that he threw so many different pitches. I think that he's one of those guys that I still believe in the talent more than a guy like Randy Vasquez and a little bit more than a guy like Ryan Bergert. I just think that his stuff is a little bit stronger. And I still think he's figuring things out. So there are starts where when he gets blown up, I think it's worth keeping that in mind. That this is still, there's a lot of guys on this team that have, especially over the years, transitioned from being relief pitchers to starting pitchers and whatnot. But really cool stuff. Sinker, slider, four-seamer, sweeper, changeup, cutter. Like, he had a lot of stuff. And what Baseball Savant classifies as unknown. So I don't know what that was, right? But okay start from Stephen Kolek. Like I said, 5 2/3, only give up 1 run. Unfortunately, the Padres lose on a walk-off because Robert Suarez gets absolutely blown up. We'll save him for the second segment. Randy Vasquez, he gets blown up in game 2 of this series. 4.1 innings. 4 earned runs on 9 hits, 2 walks, 3 Ks. We've been talking about it a lot. He's just been getting away with devil magic this year. It's not going to continue, right? He's not going to be I don't even think he's going to be a below a 4 ERA guy. Like, whatever he's been doing has been effective and has really helped this team this year. If only Michael King was healthy, Yu Darvish were healthy, and Dylan Cease showed up, I think that the production that we've gotten out of Randy Vasquez, I think would be appreciated a little bit more, just for being like, wow, you had like a nice Linsanity run. And I just think that that's what's going to happen. He's been getting hit more and more lately. He's been getting hit harder lately. 3.84 ERA, right? He threw everybody off because he had a good game against the Royals, but overall, I still think his destiny is a long inning bullpen guy. But for now, I can't hate for them still giving him starts. It's nothing like that, but not a great start for him. But thankfully, Gavin Sheets was awesome. Derry Bonds with a home run this weekend to put them up 6-4. Ends up being the difference. They get it done. Jake Cronenworth, also homered. Only had really like 1 hit this weekend, and that was it. But it was a 2-run shot. They made the score 4-3. Love to see that. Luis Arias homered as well this weekend on Saturday. Anytime Luis Arias homers, it's just a thing worth talking about and celebrating. You know what I mean? It's just it's like seeing a full moon. What can I say? His 4th of the year. Xander Bogaerts did not have the best weekend in the world. Xander Bogaerts did not have the best series against the Nationals. He kind of went absent, both figuratively and literally, getting hurt for the last game of that series. But nice weekend for him. He does hit his home run on Sunday as well. He drives a double. He was really good. The Saturday game, he actually drives a double. So big part of the comeback. has looked a little bit better lately, right? There's not much else to say. He's looked a little bit better lately. Gotta love that. And I just think tapping a little bit more into those expected stats are starting to come into play a little bit more for Xander Bogaerts, where I don't think he's this 220 disaster class 76 WRC plus hitter, even if I am worried about him as a whole, right? But don't think it's worth trading prospects to get rid of him. I still think he can be an above average player, and lately he's been looking like that, but we'll have to see. Yeah, I mean, Brian Hoeing comes into this game. He does some damage. Jason Adams does some damage. Friday's game is the one that I basically have nothing to say except for Dylan Cease. Awful. Yet again, man. I mean, just 4 innings, 3 earned runs, 4 runs, but only 3 earned, 3 walks, 8 strikeouts. He's really making the strikeouts not matter. Gives up 2 home runs in this one from Spencer Steer. Oh, yeah, and another one from Spencer Steer. And, oh, yeah, they give up another home run to Spencer Steer later. 3 home run game for that dude. Not great whatsoever. There was actually a tweet that was out there that I noticed that brought up from TJ Stats on Twitter. Brought up that in terms of, and this is before this start, by the way, the least clutch players in baseball, a stat that I don't like using because sometimes my thing is, well, if you're a 1,000 OPS guy and you have an 800 OPS series, that will bring down your clutch numbers, right? So it's like you're victim of your own success sometimes. But I'm bringing it up in this case because it's remarkable that all of them were batters in the top 20 except for one, Dylan Cease, minus 0.92 in clutch situations this year. Just, are you kidding me, right? And I think that, again, I don't love that stat, but I do think it is impressive that if you just took the top 20 players, again, that was before what happened this weekend. That was just pre-Friday, right? But he's still the worst player in terms of clutch rating in all of pitchers. He's still got that going, but he wouldn't be in the top 20 overall players. It's still just impressive just how bad Cease has been this year at giving up leads, not being able to keep the team in the game, just not great. But also Yuki Matsui got lit up too, so I can't hate just Dylan Cease. But it's been rough, man. It's been rough. And we're going to talk about the real roughness that has been the Padres bullpen of late and whether or not it's something to be genuinely really nervous about, and a whole lot more. But first, a word from our sponsors. And our sponsor for today's show, you heard them at the top of the pod. It is our friends over at the Duel of Fandom, folks, because sports in the summer, they're great. They're all in full swing. It's great. And whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action, so why not make it a little more thrilling? Right? And with FanDuel, you can get in the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. FanDuel, confirmed anti-beach. That's why we love them so much. It's also great, guys. They've got new daily promotions all the time with new fun ways to bet. You can, whether you're placing same game parlay or watching a bet right into the 9th inning, whatever it is, they will find a way to make it awesome, make you feel part of the action. And if you're new to FanDuel, have no fear. New customers can get just they could bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. And just like that, everybody, we are back here thriving and vibing. It's a segment number 2, despite the fact that the Padres themselves were not thriving and vibing this weekend. Let me tell you. Go follow me on Twitter /X and Blue Sky at Javipeno, JAVIIPENO. Let's continue. By the way, speaking of not thriving, Fernando Tatis Jr., not a great weekend for him. He did have a nice Sunday game. I think it's worth bringing that up. He did go 1 for 3 with 2 walks and a stolen base, but the 258 average, I know a lot of people are going to be talking about that. I got a Dodger fan that commented on the YouTube channel saying, the steroid thing, his OPS has dropped 150 points. A thing that is worth bringing up, but I think it's also worth bringing up that he's like 12th in wins above replacement among all position players, and also that he, there are other players who have started their career amazing, and then it turned out that they peaked there, right? Go look up, Chris Bryant, right? That's a good example. Go up Alex Bregman. And then they just ended up being really great players, but not being like Aaron Judge. And I think that that's worth bringing up. But anyway. So, let's talk about the bullpen. Man, let's talk about the bullpen because this bullpen has been worse, I think, for a while now. And I think it's worth talking about. There was at one point, and I read this stat last week, that the Padres' bullpen ERA was about the 6th or 7th best in baseball. And in high leverage situations since May 1st, they were the 17th best in baseball. Now that has improved just a little bit. Like they've had some really close games that the bullpen has won for them, which is great. Absolutely love to see it, right? I think Saturday's game could be a good example, with Monahan and Suarez and Adam especially working things out, right? But with this bullpen, Matsui just all of a sudden is a guy that has a 4 ERA, right? Like this has been his problem, and this was his problem last year, which is that he has so much talent, but goes into that Dodgers appearance, right, June 19th, then doesn't appear for a little bit longer. June 23rd, he comes back, gives up 3 earned runs in 1 1/3, part of the reasons they lost to the Nationals. And then, while the game might have been out of reach anyway because Cease was so bad in this one, he then gives up 4 earned runs to the Reds. So he came into that game, June 23rd, against the Nationals with a 3 ERA. And now he currently has a 4.73. Yuki Matsui, man, just a guy that I am starting to wonder, is he just destined to be just a good reliever, and that you're always worried he's going to give up a nuke, right? There are other relief pitchers who have had this thing happen to them, right? Where like when they were bad, they were disasters. David Robertson of the Yankees is a good example, right? Like when he was with the Yankees, that dude was nails for most of the year, but he always made you nervous because you knew he was capable of having that one just a horrendous appearance that inflates his ERA for the year, right? Maybe he's one of those guys, and that would be great if that's what he is, but I would be lying to you if I wasn't like, this, it just feels like it's been a new guy more recently, right? It feels like this has been a bullpen where there's someone new blowing it. And in my opinion, it all started with that Yankees game against Jason Adam, right? I'll never forget it. Throwing 4 straight changeups, even though he has more than that in his repertoire, right? 4 straight changeups and pitches 3 and 4 in the same exact spot, right where the type of balls that Grisham has the ability to pull, and pulling at Yankee Stadium when you're a lefty, right? Like that's easy home runs, right? And that was just such a frustrating moment. And ever since then, we've had some bad ones. The blow up by Suarez, the blow up by Jason Adam, more recently. I forgot when it was exactly, but David Morgan, right? Who's looked otherwise really good this year. By the way, like a really nice call-up for the Padres, 2.35 ERA. He had a really great appearance against the Reds that they lost, but still 2 innings, no hits, no walks, 3 Ks. Like, he's shown some stuff, David Morgan. But all in all, this Padres bullpen has been really messy lately, and it has not been, I think, as good as they need it to be, and certainly not as good as it was the first month. But in fairness, their bullpen in general, they're 6th in MLB. In high leverage situations. Now, that changes if you go since the beginning of May, which they're 13th in, 6.37 ERA, and then the beginning of June, they're 11th. So yes, they have overall been good in high leverage situations, but a lot of that is because they were obscenely good the first month of the year, right? I think that's what's happening right now. So their overall numbers are good. It's a good bullpen, but it has been not clutch. And I think that this is a team where they have a couple stars. They want to score, some runs and then have decent starting pitching and a bullpen that carries. That seems to be the formula for success for this team, and they haven't always delivered. And a big thing is Robert Suarez, who we got to talk about. Gives up the walk-off. They were up yesterday's game by 1 run, granted, but even still, he comes in, gives up 2. He only gets 1 out, gives up 4 hits, and walks a batter. Like, just looked totally lost. It was bad, right? Single after single in this one. Ellie De La Cruz single. Then Gavin Lux, of all people, you're walking. Dodger curse still there somehow, I guess. Spencer Steer, then, who just killed the Padres this weekend, gets a single. Then Jose Trevino gets a single. And then Will Benson gets a single. Just really disastrous work from Robert Suarez. I think it's worth talking about him because Robert Suarez, he's getting less strikeouts every month, right? Like his strikeout rate has gone down since the first month of the season. And his baseball savant is very disturbing, right? Because this is a guy who showed a lot of promise. And maybe I was wrong to back off of. I did about like a third of the way through the season. I did like a, what was I right about? What was I wrong about sort of episode. My everydayers know what I'm talking about. And one of the things I talked about before the season was my bold prediction was that Yuki Matsui would be the best reliever of the Padres bullpen. That was bold, everybody. But part of that bold prediction was that I was saying I was really nervous about Robert Suarez. And this year, his numbers have actually, in totality, been worse than they were last year. In whiff rate, he is in the 25th percentile, only 21%, 21.7% whiff rate. There we go. Last year, it was 24.3. And a lot of the trends that we saw towards the end of last year, the bloated ERA, the fact that his velo wasn't always there, the fact that he definitely wasn't getting as many strikeouts, we're seeing that now. I was really nervous about the fact that he didn't generate a lot of ground balls last year. Guess what? 42% ground ball rate last year. This year, you know what it is? 33.3. Nearly a 10% worse point. The hard hit stuff is up. He is not getting whiffs. He's getting strikeouts, but he's not getting any whiffs. Basically what's happening is this guy's becoming the ultimate glass cannon of relief pitchers, where he can get a lot of Ks, don't get me wrong, but man, has he been a mess in other ways. And I think a big part of that, and a big part of one of the reasons I was like, forgive me, listeners, maybe I was wrong up to be worried about Suarez, the introduction of his changeup, which is a pitch that no one was able to hit, and he was throwing it more, kind of making it a little bit less easy for guys to just be prepared for those fastballs that are darting the corners. And he still is good at that fastball. In the top right corner, he's getting all the whiffs. Like, he can get guys to swing up on that fastball and get some chase, all that sort of stuff. He's still talented, don't get me wrong. But the changeup isn't working. After being electric to start the season, since the beginning of June, batters are hitting an expected slugging of 536. I bring up the expected because the regular slugging is 786, is what batters are slugging against his changeup. So the fastball isn't getting as many whiffs, and the changeup is what they're waiting for now that maybe people are getting used to this changeup of his, and they are taking it deep every single time. That's been the problem with Robert Suarez, and I don't know if it's going to change. Maybe it's possible this is just a bad stretch, right? Hey, remember Josh Hader? Josh Hader inexplicably forgot how to pitch for like 2 months in 2022, right? Like, he just totally forgot how to pitch, and it was a mess for him. And then he was great after that. That's a trigger, Padres fans that are listening. Nobody likes Hader anymore. But that's what I'm saying, is I'm really worried because this is now since the second half of last year. Doesn't get whiffs. And for a guy who gets hit as hard as he does and throws as hard as he does, he should be a strikeout guy. It has me worried. Is he still a good reliever? Yes. But is this a guy that is starting to genuinely fall off and I don't trust anymore? I don't want to say I don't trust him at all, but basically I'm saying I told you so in the least smug way possible. I thought the changeup was going to be the reason he'd be great, but now batters are teeing off on it, and that has me worried. And overall, has me worried about this Padres bullpen that just might not be good enough to carry the rest of this roster, and that's what they needed them to do. So we'll just have to see, guys. But we're also going to have to see about your questions about this team, which we'll be getting to in just a minute, folks. But first, a word from one of our sponsors. And just like that, everybody, we are back here on the Locked On Padres podcast, thriving and vibing as always. Let's get into some of your mailbag questions now. First, on Twitter, at EricHam3264 says, Javi, for the mailbag, Padres fans, look me in the eye, he says, and tell me that you feel comfortable about Suarez coming to the ninth with a lead. Hold on. You said leaf in your tweet, so it threw me off. With a lead over Adrian Morejon. It's time. Make the switch. Adrian has been nails all season, including working out of the other guys' jams. Make the switch. So here's what I have to say. First of all, again, guys, this is why I was worried about Robert Suarez. I want to be careful because I am someone who believes in closer experience, and I believe in just not always assuming that guys will just pivot to that role and be great. But it is true that in terms of high leverage numbers, and we talked about this last week for my everydayers, that Adrian Morejon, out of all the players, and it's granted, it's not as many situations because he is used not as a ninth inning guy, right? But he's been used in some high leverage situations. He has a better ERA in those situations than Suarez, than Estrada, and even Jason Adam. So, like, it wouldn't be crazy. But to me, I don't think they're going to make the change right now. I think they're going to be like, you know what? He's just had a bad stretch, and this is still our guy. But if he has another blow up, one more, I think then we're in business. And I think he just has a little bit of a protection because he was really good for the most part in totality last year. And he's been their guy and he's getting paid a lot. So I don't know if we'll see him removed from that. Right. And maybe this could be a trade thing too, guys. Let's be honest. Like, his value goes down, whether you like it or not, if he is removed from that closer role. I think that might be a signal to other teams, but we'll have to see. But again, I think it is at least worth bringing up that it's hard to just make that change immediately. Robert Birdie on Blue Sky. He questions for the Monday show. He threw a lot of them at me. We're only going to answer a couple, but I just want to bring them up. Will the Padres come to regret all the walk-off losses come October, or will we make it into the playoffs in spite of them? Do we need to get another closer to complement Suarez? Are there any options at AAA that we could use, or do we use one of our existing relief pitchers? Compared to other fan bases, how do Padres fans compare when it comes to enjoy every win and agonize every loss? So, first part of that, no, I don't think we need to get another closer. I just think it's more of like a if he loses the job situation. And then I'd say in terms of the other options at AAA, let me tell you, buddy, the farm is not a lot right now. But I like this question. How do Padre fans compare when it comes to enjoying win every agonizing loss? I think what I've noticed is Padres fans have not been great at remembering sometimes that this team was completely irrelevant in the grand scheme of the sport. Like, they are not important, right, in the grand scheme of the sport and its history. And I think they don't always know how to act, being like finally having players, and especially, even more importantly, a front office and a culture that cares about winning. That I think everyone's losing their minds a little bit. But I get it. I think that most fan bases are kind of the same. I think the biggest ones, I think that Boston has been the worst for a long time. I think Philly's really bad. I think New York's really bad. I actually think LA just varies, and I think a lot of these teams do vary based on fan bases, right? Like, I think that the Braves fan base can be insufferable as hell, right? But then I think that the Atlanta Falcons fan base is okay. You know what I mean? Like, it does vary a lot. I'd say the complaining is about the same for the most part, but people really do be losing their minds. And I think part of that is because we are talked about, and the media, in fairness, correctly, will bring up so many trades that they've made. And since they are so famous and we're getting so much flack for our trades that haven't worked out or our signings that haven't worked out, people are more on edge and ready to complain further because there's been so much negativity for a team that put itself in the spotlight because of all these moves and this new era of Padres baseball. So I think that's what it is. But I'm not going to lie. Yeah, there are times when people are like, wow, Tatis is a Mets. And I'm like, bro, he's 12 and F4. You know what I mean? Yes, I'm worried about him too, a little bit, but I'm not like, oh man, what a butt. You know what I mean? Like, let's relax a little bit. But overall, nothing crazy different from what I've seen from other fan bases. Just a quick question on the premiere that comes from YouTube at IMX13 or at IMX111, whatever, Roman numeral. Premiere equals not live. He said, yeah, so the premiere thing, when I set that up, guys, just so you know, that is like a thing that I plan in advance, but I'm not literally live. It's just that it's showing up for the first time, and you can go in there and maybe leave some comments if you want. I'll get them, maybe read them potentially on this mailbag. So go check that out if you want. And I'm going to be scheduling my episodes ahead more often. So that way it's just like, it's set up. You'll see the thing on the YouTube and it'll just tell you like, oh, this is what the show is going to be tomorrow. And you can wait in the lobby, all that sort of stuff. So that's what we're doing. It's just more of a technical thing. What else we got here? Let's see here. A note on the Juan Soto trade from at PhoenixAsh927. Everyone forgets that we were supposed to get Tatis back. We made the trade, then found out Tatis was out for the entire year, for everybody who doesn't remember, the PED suspension. And we got 2 years of Soto. And we made it to the NLCS, and we have King and Cease, and we have some depth pitchers, and we got a year of good Higashioka. You build, then you go for it. If we didn't do the Soto trade, who's to say we even made the playoffs in 22 or 24? Higgy and King and Cease were a huge part of why we made it in 24, Soto played a role in 2022, getting us to the NLCS. Also, why do people think that the Padres would have had the same success with Gore and Abrams? They were being rushed, and it felt like mishandled here. Bottom line for me on the Soto trade. Everyone likes riding the what-if bus, but no one wants to ride the look at all the amazing things we got bus. These last 5 years of baseball have been the peak of my baseball life, and I still remember how good I felt when we got Soto. Holy crap, level excitement. I thought you said holy crap. I bet you cursed a little bit more. That's just me, because that was me. I'm just messing with you now. Can't buy that, so I'll take what I can get. I think you make a lot of good points, man. That was really beautiful. I think that it is true that I think it's more, yes, I think that here's where I stand. For years, the Padres and everyone will tell you that they're in a win now mode. And usually when you're in a win now mode, that window doesn't seem to be on year 5. You get what I'm saying? So I think that it is fair for some people to be like, what if we just took it? What if we were just like, yeah, Abrams is not going to be great at first, but let's give him his reps, and eventually he becomes what he is right now. If in 2025 he's our shortstop, we're thrilled with that. I think that the Abrams part is more annoying because you had Ha-Seong Kim, right? So you could have just kept him playing shortstop for the most part, just given Abrams some more reps, and then maybe he comes up after Kim becomes a free agent, and you have him. Same thing for James Wood and all that sort of stuff. You just signed Profar. But I get what you're also saying as well, which is, guys, they were really good. And I think that it needs to be emphasized. I bring this up every single time. They were a World Series team last year. And if not for choking for 24 innings, I think that they get there, and I think that they potentially win it. I really, really do. And I think that's part of the reason, philosophically, I was a little bit down on the Padres this year, because I was like, I don't like betting on teams that went really far, that it really feels like this was their best chance. The Detroit Lions in football, remember when they lost to the 49ers? Because that dumb, horrible throw by Brock Purdy, don't get me started on that guy, and it bounced off the Lions' helmet and then into the hands of the receiver for the 49ers. Like, then the game completely swung. It just felt like that was the Lions' year. And guess what's happened ever since then? They've been good, right? They've been contenders, but just not the same level of you guys are the favorite. And I think that that's what's happened, unfortunately. So, I don't know. But I agree with the sentiment. I really do. I think it's a great thing to say. And then lastly, from Rama Murdy, he says, great to have Jake on board, referring to Jake Ariani on Friday of CBS 8, and be able to have a source in San Diego to help the show. Many of us outside of San Diego get our Padres info from Ben and Woods. Love those guys. Sam Levitt, love that man. Marty Castle and John and Jim. So thank you guys. Yes, everybody go send Jake, some kind words on, whatever you guys want. You know what I'm saying? Whatever you guys want, send some kind words. I appreciate it very much. Look, it's a bad series loss. What can I say? But overall, this is still a team that's going to be a contender, right? So just keep that in mind, that they're still a playoff contender. If you make the playoffs, that's fun and awesome, and then you just go from there. But I understand the fear. And we're going to see what level Preller is at, right? Luis Robert just went on the IL, by the way. So now I'm like, I don't think that's going to happen anymore now, that trade. I think that we have to see what they do at the deadline. And if they're aggressive at the deadline, that tells me King and Cease are going to be healthy. And speaking of healthy, I forgot to mention this at the beginning of the show. Matt Waldron expected to start tonight's game against the Phillies. That could go awful given how good Philly is, but I'm just glad that Waldron's back because he was a pretty good player for the team last year. And frankly, gave him a little bit shorter of a leash than I think he deserved. But I understand it because he did give up like 15 runs in 20 innings, I think it was at one point. Like, he just completely fell off after the All-Star break. But it's a piece, so hopefully we're starting to get a little bit healthy. We'll have to see, though, guys. But bottom line, playoff contender. That's what matters for now. We're going to talk about a whole bunch more for the rest of the week, including Fernando Tatis Jr. and his struggles. We're probably going to talk about Dylan Cease some more, right? We're going to be talking about a bunch of different things over the course of the week. So until that next time, everybody, stay safe and, of course, stay faithful. My Friday Faithful homies, take care.